This is the Definitive 3 by Mikey. You can disagree, but you'd be wrong. We're going to start looking back through the decades. Not just movies that came out during the decade, but helped define what that decade was about. And we're starting with the 1930s. The Great Depression had Americans struggling just to get by. The world was still dealing with the scars of World War I. Europe was becoming increasingly unstable, and nobody knew just how bad things were about to get. And while all that was happening, Hollywood was giving people something they desperately needed: a reason to sit down for a couple hours and forget about the world. And after going through this list, I can tell you this: this may have been the hardest one I've ever had to do. At number 3, All Quiet on the Western Front, 1930. This movie was raw. It showed the horrors of war from the perspective of the people actually fighting it. And remember, at the time, World War I wasn't even called World War I. It was the Great War. This movie was telling people what war really looked like, why the wounds of that war were still fresh. And here's the crazy part. 11 years later, America would be involved in World War II, while Europe was already heading towards it, another catastrophe. This movie was a warning that nobody listened to, and that's why it belongs here. It didn't glorify war, it showed you what the hell war actually does to people, and why it shouldn't be fought. At number 2, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937. This wasn't just another Disney movie. This was Disney proving that animation could be more than a bunch of short cartoons. They made a full-length animated movie and made people care about the characters, the story, and what happened to them. And we're still talking about it today. Generations grew up on Snow White. It showed that even in the middle of the Great Depression, people would spend their money to go see something that could make them feel good. It was optimism, hard work, imagination, and artistic innovation all wrapped into one movie. And whether you like what Disney does today or not, you can't take away what the movie did. This was the beginning of the Disney domination we're still dealing with today. And number 1, The Wizard of Oz, 1939. This is one of those movies where you don't even have to explain why it's here. It's a classic that multiple generations have grown up with. And when you talk about the movie that defined the 1930s, the color alone was something fantastic and new for audiences. But it wasn't just the color. You had this bleak Depression-era Kansas that looked like the world many people were actually living in. And then suddenly you were thrown into this incredible technicolor fantasy. It gave people exactly what they needed at the time: an escape. But underneath all that fantasy, you've still got the idea that no matter how bad things get, there's no place like home. And that's why this movie just didn't define the 1930s. It became part of America's culture. That's the Definitive 3. And I already know somebody's going to say I left off their favorite movie. If you think you've got a better 3, go ahead. Be wrong in the comments. Next Monday, we're going to keep moving forward through movie history. We're heading into the 1940s, a decade of war, sacrifice, uncertainty, and some of the greatest movies Hollywood has ever made.